We're fortunate to have our old friend Cliff May with us. He's the president of the Foundation of Defense of Democracies and experts on all things international. Cliff May, thank you for being with us again.
Actually, he's even more than international, Cliff. You know lots about everything.
Intergalactic, would you say?
Intergalactic. People say I'm from Mars.
Maybe that was it.
Well, he says DC, same thing.
Maybe that was it. Cliff, we had Andrew McCarthy on the show a while ago, as
yes,
you know, from
my good friend.
National Review, and of course all of our good friends, and we were talking about this situation in Afghanistan, and he's taking a very interesting position.
Yep.
He says that we need to win the war.
Yep.
That Afghanistan is a battle, not a war, and I don't think this president will ever do what is necessary in Afghanistan. And we might as well just focus our resources on other things, because he won't make that level of commitment. This hearts and mind thing first is not the way to go, and therefore he's not doing a George Will, but he's very pessimistic about it. What's your read on it?
As usual, Andy is making an argument that has a lot of merit. I was very involved with a coalition of groups that campaigned for General Petraeus' mission in Iraq. I was on the expert advisory group to the Baker-Hamilton Commission. I was one of the few there who said we can and should salvage this situation, not simply find a way to accept defeat gracefully. I think the Petraeus mission was a success. The thing is, I don't know that we can replicate that here until and unless Obama shows that he, in fact, does intend to win this battle in Afghanistan. I just don't know that history presents a precedent of a president or any leader taking his nation to victory on a battlefield while he's ambivalent about whether or not we can and should win. Now, Obama, as you know, during the campaign said this is a good war, this is the war we have to win, this is Afghanistan is where 9/11 was planned. We really have to, we took our eye off the ball, we've got to divert resources. But look, today is 9/11. I haven't heard him say a word about Afghanistan. He has made almost 100 speeches about health care. I haven't heard him get out there and say we need the resources to win in Afghanistan. And you can lose a battle and still win a war, but it doesn't help to lose battles if you want to win wars.
People are watching, aren't they, Cliff?
People are watching all over the world. It is absolutely true that the Soviet defeat in Afghanistan was a precursor for the collapse of the Soviet Union. And it also made the jihadists say, look, if we can bring down the Soviet Union, surely we can bring down the decadent Americans.
Cliff, don't you think that the most dangerous thing that the United States of America can do is to appear to be weak and vacillating?
We absolutely know that to be the case. There is nothing more provocative than vulnerability. When your enemies see that you are ready to be taken down, they will do it. And our enemies, the people think there was no liability to our defeat in Vietnam or to our leaving Beirut after getting hit by Hezbollah suicide bombers and losing over 240 Marines, or to our retreat from Somalia. There was, because in each of these instances our enemies watched and said, so.
We course.
We can do it. We can do it with impunity. The Americans are ripe. The Americans are like the World Trade Towers. They look tall, they look strong, but if you hit them, they will collapse.
And that was the read when George Bush was president and Bill Clinton was president. I can only imagine what their read is now. But let me ask you this in a little bit more detail. Do you think that the success of the surge in Iraq that can serve as the template for success in Afghanistan? Will a surge of troops and activities there do the same thing and get the job done?
With some adaptation, essentially, my answer is yes, because nobody in the world knows more about fighting 21st century wars than does General David Petraeus. And I think that his commander, who is also Obama's handpicked commander in Afghanistan, General Stanley McChrystal, they pretty much know what they need to do in order to defeat the Taliban. And in some ways it's harder than in Iraq, and in some ways it's easier. No wars are easy. That we should have learned that. But defeats are also not without cost. We need to have learned that. So yes, I think they can do what needs to be done. I think that Andy is right that you don't want to let the mission slip from a mission to defeat your enemies into a mission to turn Afghanistan into a Costa Rica of the Hindu Kush. But that doesn't mean that you don't have to concern yourself as a general with some economic development and some local governance issues. What you really want to do is beat the bad guys, train the good guys to defend themselves, and leave them with a place decent enough that people aren't saying, if anybody will give me $100, I'll be glad to blow up anything they tell me to blow up.
Well, the goals are clearly the same, and that is to train up the indigenous folks there so that they can carry on the battle themselves and defend themselves. But here's the thing that puzzles me. It seems to me like that the notion of winning the hearts and minds is in the ascendancy right now. Obviously, it's not just a matter of troops. Obviously, there's more to it than that. And you're right. I think the countries are different in many respects, and different tactics have to be applied. But it looks to me like that this hearts and minds thing that McChrystal seems to have bought into totally is problematic. You've got to do that, but I mean, where does that stop and the fighting begin? I guess it's easy to say, well, you got to do both, but you see what I mean? I mean, that's really nation building. You can't turn Afghanistan and 1,000 years of culture around.
I don't think you can, and I don't think you should even try. And I suspect McChrystal knows that, though he may be trying to market this to Obama and to the left. I don't think you need to win hearts and minds. I really do not. I don't know that we won the hearts and minds of the Anbaris in Iraq. What they understood, and what I think the Afghans understand, is that to be ruled by the Taliban is a dreadful fate. It means if you send your little girl to school, she gets acid thrown in her face. It means if you decide to fly a kite or listen to a record on a record player, they may cut your fingers off. So all you want to do, this is not winning hearts and minds, is say, look, do you want to be ruled by the Taliban, or do you want to rule yourself? If you want to be ruled by the Taliban, we're out of here. We know that very few do. If you want to rule yourself, we'll help you get rid of the bad guys. We'll train you so that you can defend yourself after that, and then we're gone. You want to partner on that. The Anbaris, once they understood what al-Qaeda in Iraq meant, said, please fight with us. We will fight with you, and we will rid this area of al-Qaeda. I think the Afghans will do the same thing. We are not trying to change. We should not be trying to get rid of the culture of poverty or change the tribal structure. On the contrary, we should just be helping them get rid of the Taliban, which is not the way. That's not the tradition of their life. There.
Exactly. We got less than a minute, but I want your read on Congress. You've watched it a long time. You heard Nancy Pelosi. What are they going to do?
Well, I don't know. When Nancy Pelosi says, I don't think Americans want to send more troops in, that is a long way from having a strategy for winning a global conflict. But I don't think Nancy Pelosi understands that we have a global conflict here. And my fear really is that we are going back to a pre-9/11 model where we think that terrorism is some kind of criminal justice problem. And I think Andy McCarthy is spot on when he says if we do that, we lose this war. We are coming to a gunfight with only an unsharpened knife.
Cliff May. Brilliant as usual. Thank you, my friend.